Hello there, Steve-Os, and welcome back to another episode of Steve's movie wrap-up right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. This actually is a special episode of the movie wrap-up because I've got 16, that's right, 16 films to review in this episode of the movie wrap-up. And also as well, it's also a very special episode because it is episode 100 of the movie wrap-up. So without further ado, let's have a look and see what movie we'll be reviewing first in this episode. I Am Frankelda. So the first movie we'll be reviewing is I Am Frankelda, which I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. I Am Frankelda is a new movie that has recently hit Netflix, and in fact, it's not just a new movie that has hit Netflix. This film was made over in Mexico and was Mexico's first ever stop-motion feature-length film, I believe. So this is basically the Mexican version of what we have here in the UK as Aardman, the studio that brought us Shaun the Sheep, Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run. So with that in mind, what did I think of I Am Frankelda? Well, the story is rather mediocre, in my honest opinion, but that being said, I enjoy the animation, which, as mentioned, is used with stop motion, and I do appreciate how colourful this film can be at times, as well as vibrant as well, which again, I do appreciate. I also loved how at the end of the film, as the credits rolled, we see sort of a behind the scenes of how the film was made with the models they used for the characters in the movie, the voiceover work as well from the voice actors, and how the sets were made as well. Is I Am Frankelda a movie I am willing to watch again? I doubt it. For me, this will likely be a watch once and once only film, but I am not ruling out me seeing any other film that the studio behind this will do in the future, especially when it comes to stop motion animation. And do I recommend watching I Am Frankelda? Well, if you love animated movies or enjoy them, or if you have children looking for something new for them to watch on Netflix, then I would recommend checking this one out. But I Am Frankelda is now streaming on Netflix worldwide. I Am Legend. Going from I Am Frankelda to I Am Legend next, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. It has been roughly 19 years since I Am Legend was released, and the movie does star Will Smith in the leading role alongside a dog too. Now, I Am Legend is 19 years old in 2026, and in 2026 it is the year that I have seen I Am Legend for the first time. So, what did I think of I Am Legend? Well, given the fact this movie was released in 2007, there is so many noticeable moments where certain scenes looked CGI or green screens, which did make the movie look bad, and I think there was some scenes in here that could have done with better lighting in it as well. I have seen so many people over the years talk highly about this movie, and now I understand why. It's not because of how bad the CGI or green screen scenes are, it's to do with the performances. So I have seen a lot of movies in my lifetime that does star Will Smith, either in a leading role or in some sort of supporting role. I Am Legend is one of those movies that I definitely won't forget for his performance, because his performance in this was absolutely amazing. There is one scene in this which was truly heartbreaking to watch, but Will Smith nailed and crushed that scene. And as for the acting skills coming from the dog, I feel as though the Academy should have a Best Dog Performance nomination at the Oscars, because the dog's performance in this movie was also really good as well. I will admit that I did enjoy the setting of this film. It is set in a post-apocalyptic New York City, and also at some point in this film, Shrek and Donkey does make an appearance, which also means that Will Smith's character in the film says, "I like Shrek." Which I did find rather funny. I will just say very quick, going back to the bad CGI and green screening, that the monster/zombies in this film weren't that great, to be honest, and neither was the fire scenes in this either. But for the performance though, I Am Legend deserves the 3-star rating on Letterboxd that I have given to it. I have had this movie on the watch list for a while now, so I am glad that I can tick this off on my watch list. That being said, this movie was streaming on Amazon Prime Video here in the UK, but at the time of watching this, I only had 3 days left to watch before it was taken away from Prime subscription, so I prioritised watching this movie. Is I Am Legend going to be a movie I will remember? It will be. Is this a movie I can see me rewatching and revisiting sometime in the future? Yes. However, though, I wouldn't say I am in a rush to go back and rewatch this film, but I still did appreciate I Am Legend though as a whole, and would I recommend watching I Am Legend? If you haven't seen this before, like myself, or fancy giving it a rewatch, then I would recommend checking this one out. But bring some tissues, as you will likely need them in certain scenes of this film. I Am Legend is available to buy and rent on digital platforms right now. Life After Beth. Next up is Life After Beth, which I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. First released in 2014, similar to I Am Legend, Life After Beth has been on the Letterboxd watch list for a long time. Similar to I Am Legend, Life After Beth is a movie I have never seen before until now, and similar to I Am Legend, Life After Beth is a movie that at the time of doing this review is set to leave Prime Video, so I decided to watch this movie before it left Prime Video. And again, similar to I Am Legend, this is a movie which I prioritised to watch. So what did I think of Life After Beth? Well, this is classed as a comedy horror, and I won't lie, while there are elements and moments of horror within this film throughout the running time, which does clock in at 1 hour and 28 minutes. But as for the comedy though, the comedy can be rather hit or miss, because there is moments in this where the film does have some rather dry humour. Aubrey Plaza does star in this film, and I will say, similar to what the actress is like in real life, when I have seen her do interviews, she is really funny, and she does come across as basically herself in this film. I did enjoy her in the leading role of Beth. However, though, oddly, there must have been an issue with the colour grading in this film, because it does come across as bland and very lifeless as well. John C. Reilly and Molly Shannon also does star in this film as well. Is Life After Beth a movie I can see me going back and revisiting, rewatching again sometime in the future? Well, yes, because I did somewhat enjoy this. However, though, I don't think I will be in any rush to rewatch this again anytime soon. And as for if I would recommend watching Life After Beth, well, if you are into horror comedy films or enjoy watching films that feature Aubrey Plaza, then I would recommend watching this. Life After Beth is available to buy and rent now on digital platforms. Toy Story 5. Next up this week, I've watched Toy Story 5, which I gave 3.5 stars over on Letterboxd. Toy Story 5 is the 5th instalment in the Toy Story franchise by Disney and Pixar. So, what did I think of Toy Story 5? Well, instead of the movie centering around Woody and Buzz, this time it is centered around Jessie, and I feel as though this could be a slight sequel in a way to Toy Story 2, because Jessie's backstory is revisited in Toy Story 5. We see her and Bullseye going back to her childhood home, where she grew up alongside Emily, her first owner. When I say Jessie grew up with Emily, I meant she watched her first owner, Emily, grow up. There is a detail in Jessie's story, though, which I won't spoil in this review, but damn, the detail really did melt my heart, and also made me rather teary-eyed at one point too. I do love how in this film there is 3 stories all happening at the same time, and I was going to say in this review that I didn't like the fact we had 3 different stories happening, but the fact that all 3 of them stories tied up together towards the final act of the film, it makes me understand better why these 3 different stories took place across the running time of the film. I will say that I was really impressed with the animation in this movie as well, and also the way that the animals in this film come across as well was so good. And believe me, you will spot a lot of animals throughout this film as well. There was some moments throughout the film where Woody was being branded as an old man because of his balding head and beer belly he has now got, which was rather funny, and I thought the humour in this was well balanced. Is Toy Story 5 better than what Toy Story 4 was, which released back in 2019? Yeah, I think so, to be honest. And I think it is great that we broke away from Woody and Buzz. Although I will be honest, what will happen to Woody next? Because, well, his character left abruptly again, went back to what he was doing before, which was finding abandoned toys alongside Bo Peep, and with the director behind Toy Story 5, Andrew Stanton, talking about the possibility of doing a 6th installment of Toy Story, and he even admitted that it would not be a Toy Story movie without Woody in it. Does make me wonder what he will do with the character of Woody in a 6th installment if that does get given the green light at Disney Pixar. Also, it wouldn't at all surprise me if they do end up making a Toy Story 6, because it has done rather well at the box office during its opening weekend as well. I will say this as well, there is a couple of moments from the music score where it did sound like little pieces from the music score taken from Monsters, Inc. I don't know if anyone else will notice that, but my ears definitely did hear little pieces of the music score taken from Monsters, Inc., which again did tug a little on the heartstrings when I heard that. Do I recommend watching Toy Story 5? I do, because it is a great family-friendly film, and if you are familiar with the franchise and you appreciate the franchise enough, then I will say that you will have a great time with this film, because I enjoyed watching this one. And stick around at the end of the film for 2 post-credit scenes as well, which one of them may possibly tease what could come next if a Toy Story 6 was to happen. Is Toy Story 5 a film I would be happy to go back and revisit, rewatch in the future? For sure, it will be a film I will be happy to watch again, likely later in the year, when it does eventually arrive on Disney+. But Toy Story 5 is now currently showing in cinemas and theatres worldwide. Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Next up this week, I've watched Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, which I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu is the first Star Wars movie to be shown in cinemas and theatres worldwide since Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. So it has been 7 years since a Star Wars movie has been shown in cinemas and theatres, and it has also been a while since I have last seen any form of content in terms of Star Wars, whether that be a film or even a TV series from this franchise on Disney+. So what did I think of The Mandalorian and Grogu? Well, this is based on the TV series that first arrived on Disney Plus when the streaming service first launched in 2019 over in the US and in 2020 here in the UK. And while I won't dive too much into the TV series, but I will admit that the first 2 seasons of the show is great. Then came season 3, and that is when the show fell off. And for me, if you asked me today what happened in season 3 of The Mandalorian, well, I couldn't tell you. Not because I never watched it, because I did, but because season 3 was forgettable, and so was the final episode of season 3 as well. Do you need to watch the TV series to understand what is going on with in the movie? I mean, yes and no, because yes, so that you can see these characters within this universe be developed in the TV series, and so that you are prepared to see what these characters get up to in the film. But if you haven't seen the TV series as a standalone Star Wars movie, I would say you would be able to get away with watching the movie without seeing the TV series over on Disney+. Now for me, while yes, there was some scenes I appreciated and enjoyed, but I can't help but think that this could have just been season 4 of The Mandalorian on Disney+. They could have just had these 3 episodes on Disney Plus rather than showing it on the big screen in movie length. I will be honest, the only thing that did interest me was when the Mandalorian was injured from a snake bite, and then we saw Grogu come to his aid, and we followed what Grogu was doing. And that scene was the only bit, alongside the action sequences, that kept me interested in the film. Other than that, I don't think I will remember this film like a couple of days after seeing it. Sigourney Weaver, Pedro Pascal and Jeremy Allen White do star in The Mandalorian and Grogu, and the running time does clock in at 2 hours and 12 minutes. I will say that the music score throughout this film is great, with the same music composer who composed the music for the TV series also composing the music to the film as well, which again I do appreciate. Do I recommend watching The Mandalorian and Grogu? Well, if you have seen the TV series or are a fan of Star Wars in general, then sure, give this movie a watch because it is somewhat decent. As for whether I will watch this again, probably would say I will. However though, I won't be in a rush to rewatch this on Disney Plus as soon as it hits the streaming service later in the year. But Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu is now showing in cinemas and theatres worldwide. Your Fault London. Next up this week, I have watched Your Fault London, which I gave 2 stars on Letterboxd. I have seen this movie being advertised a lot lately, mainly when I've been watching YouTube videos and an ad comes up either before a video starts or halfway through a video. I was planning to give this a watch regardless anyways, but I have decided to check this out. Now, question about Your Fault London. Is this a sequel to My Fault London, which I believe came out in 2025 on Prime Video? Because if this is, then I will say I have somewhat seen My Fault London when that was released last year. However, I got about halfway through watching it and then never went back to it. And I was planning to watch it again from the beginning so that I could review it for Letterboxd, but then I never did. So with that being said, I have watched Your Fault London, which at the beginning of the film did feel like a sequel anyways. So what did I think of this? I will be honest, if this was just a straight up romance film, which in part it is, then this would have been better. However though, on top of this complicated love triangle or love square throughout this running time, which does clock in at 2 hours and 4 minutes, it does have some scenes featuring cars racing each other, which, I will be honest, did make this film seem somewhat Fast and Furious-esque, but also did feel rather forced in this story as well, and wasn't really necessary. Maybe I do need to revisit My Fault London and watch it to the end. That might have made the beginning of this film seem more sense. Is this a film I would check out again? Likely, but I wouldn't be in a rush to rewatch this again. However, and do I recommend watching this? Well, if you are into romantic films, then I would say check this one out. But Your Fault London is now streaming on Prime Video around the world. Over Your Dead Body. Next up this week, I've watched Over Your Dead Body, which I gave 3.5 stars over on Letterboxd. Jason Segel and Samara Weaving star in this thriller comedy. I say this is a thriller because there are some moments that are rather thrilling and some moments that are very funny in this. So what did I think of Over Your Dead Body? I had a lot of fun with this one. The film is about a married couple. They are going away for the weekend to a cabin where they are secretly planning to kill each other. However, the wife works out her husband's plan and confronts him. The tables then turn when she gets trapped and he confronts her over what she was planning to do when killing him. However, when a fight breaks out between them both, they soon discover they are not alone, and they then have to both fight for survival. There is some really funny moments in this film, and I will be honest, Samara Weaving and Jason Segel's performance in this film are great, with a running time that clocks in at 1 hour and 44 minutes. Do I recommend checking out Over Your Dead Body? Yes, I do. And will I happily rewatch this film again? I definitely would say so, yes. Over Your Dead Body is streaming now on Prime Video. Wuthering Heights 2026. Next up this week, I gave Wuthering Heights a watch, which I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. I am going to start reviewing some films that I have watched, which were released in cinemas during the first half of the year, which I didn't get the opportunity to watch, but I have now watched. Because I have brought it to buy and keep on digital, and in a surprise twist, for 2026, I've decided to watch Wuthering Heights, which stars Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi and Martin Clunes as well. Now, I say this is a surprising twist because this isn't the kind of movie I would usually watch, especially as this is an erotic kind of film. So erotic in fact that this was released in cinemas back in February earlier this year, around Valentine's Day to be precise. But was this actually erotic though? Well, for some of the female audience, they would probably say yes. But for me though, I was expecting this film to be more raunchier, but it wasn't. It was more tame than what I was expecting, and I'm not complaining about that, to be honest. There has been many other versions of Wuthering Heights that has been released over the years in the world of film. I haven't seen any of them, so I can't compare this to any other version that has been released before. I also believe that this is also based on a novel, and like most films that are based on books, have I read the novel? I haven't. As for the acting performances, surprisingly, this film kept me invested in the story throughout the running time. Margot Robbie was great, and so was Jacob Elordi too. And I was surprised to see Martin Clunes in this film as well. But he was absolutely superb in his role as well. As for the running time, the film does clock in at 2 hours and 16 minutes. Charlie XCX also provides the music throughout the running time, and I must say the music she provides for this film is great. There are some decent close-up shots that does make this film feel cinematic. Is this a movie I would recommend watching? Well, if you have read the book or have seen another version of Wuthering Heights in the world of cinema and want to check this out, then I do surprisingly recommend watching this. It does also have a sad ending, which I won't spoil in case you plan to check this film out for yourself. But is Wuthering Heights a film I would be happy to go back and rewatch? Yeah, I would. However, I wouldn't be in a rush to rewatch this again anytime soon. I do, however, appreciate this film a lot. Wuthering Heights is available to buy and rent on digital platforms right now. Mother's Pride. Next up this week, I have watched Mother's Pride, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. Mother's Pride is the next film that came out in cinemas earlier this year, which I didn't get the chance to catch in cinemas, so I have brought it to buy and keep on digital, and I've now watched this. So what did I think of Mother's Pride? Well, this is the second film I have watched this week where Martin Clunes does star in the film, but he plays a much more prominent role in this compared to Wuthering Heights, as he plays the role of a landlord in a British pub, a pub in which is struggling. Mark Addy also stars in this film alongside James Buckley, who a lot of people will recognise as Jay from the In-Betweeners TV series. What I will say about Mother's Pride is there is some comedy elements in this film that did make me chuckle a couple of times, and also I felt as though this film was rather heartfelt and rather wholesome to watch, with a running time that does clock in at 1 hour and 33 minutes. I really do appreciate this film a lot. If you are looking for a wholesome British comedy to watch, then I would recommend checking this one out. And as for whether I would rewatch this one again, I can see me revisiting this film again at some point in the future, but Mother's Pride is available to buy and rent on digital platforms. Psycho Killer. Next up this week, I watched Psycho Killer, which I gave 2 stars over on Letterboxd. The next film I watched is Psycho Killer. Now, this film is rather interesting and complicated. Let me break it down. So, in the US, this film was released in theatres, and 20th Century Studios, which is basically Disney, distributed this film. So you would think that the film would have been shown in cinemas here in the UK, right? Well, there was no screenings for this film in any UK cinema as far as I was aware around the time this film was released. Then I found out in the US the film was being put on Disney Plus as part of Hulu, which again I thought this meant it was going to stream internationally on Disney Plus, at least here in the UK. Again, I was wrong. So I was rather surprised to see that this was put straight to streaming, straight to digital platform stores in the UK, with no cinema release and no streaming release on Disney Plus here in the UK. Unless that is to come in the future sometime. But regardless though, I have now watched Psycho Killer. So what did I think of this film? Well, when it was released in US theatres, I saw that people were receiving this film rather poorly, and it didn't do well either at the box office over in the US. But as for what I thought, it was somewhat decent. It wasn't terrible per se, but I would say though it could have been a lot better. The killer in the movie is called the Slasher, and while yes, we do see a lot of slashing going on from the killer in this film, the blood that we see coming out of the victims is CGI blood. I do wish that the film could have been gorier, and the story could have been a bit stronger than what it was, better executed as well. The running time does clock in at 1 hour and 31 minutes, so it isn't too long and doesn't outstay its welcome, which is a good thing. Would I recommend watching Psycho Killer? Well, if you are looking for a horror movie to watch, then I would say check this one out. But you will likely find that this movie is somewhat watchable, but you will likely only see it the once and once only. I will re-watch this film again sometime in the future. However, though, for me, I wouldn't be in a rush to check this one out again anytime soon. But Psycho Killer is available to buy and rent on digital platforms right now. Affection. Next up this week, I watched Affection, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. Affection is a recently released sci-fi horror film that does star Jessica Roth, who a lot of horror fans will recognise from Happy Death Day and the sequel to that film, Happy Death Day 2. As well as Joseph Cross also stars in this film as well. So what did I think of Affection? I did somewhat enjoy this film. It did get a little confusing at times, mainly in the middle of the film. There is some added mystery to the film within the first half an hour to 45 minutes of the film, which I did enjoy. And as for the horror imagery, if you came here for the horror, more specifically the body horror, then I would say you are in for a treat, as there is some of that in here within the last half an hour of the film, which I did appreciate. As for the running time, the film does clock in at 1 hour and 29 minutes, so a simple and quick film to watch if you are planning to watch a horror movie. Do I recommend watching Affection? I think there is things in this movie that people will love and appreciate and enjoy too, and if you are into sci-fi horror, then I would recommend checking this one out. And would I rewatch this film again? I would say so, yes. But Affection is available to buy and rent on digital platforms right now. Exit 8. Next up is Exit 8, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. So Japanese horror movies aren't usually my thing. The last horror movie I did see that was foreign subtitled, well, before The Ugly Stepsister last year, which was Norwegian. But the film I did see before that was Train to Busan, which I did somewhat enjoy, and the same can be said for The Ugly Stepsister as well. But normally foreign language horror movies aren't usually my thing. But when I did notice, however, a lot of people was raving about a Japanese horror movie that came out in cinemas earlier this year called Exit 8. I needed to check this film out for myself. And now that I have watched it, what did I think of Exit 8? You know what? I somewhat had a good time with this film. Yes, it is rather creepy in places. Yes, it does come with English subtitles, as the entire film is spoken in Japanese. And I do believe that this film is based on a horror game as well. Does it make me want to at least try out and play the horror game? If I gain access to it, then sure. However, though, this film does have some issues. If you are someone like me who doesn't like seeing scenes repeat itself over and over again or being recycled, then you will have an issue with this film, because for me this was a problem. The dialogue was repetitive, the scenes was repetitive as well, which did annoy me at times. The running time does clock in at 1 hour and 35 minutes, and it is pretty much set in a single location. I don't know if it is me, but this film did feel a little longer than 1 hour and 35 minutes, but this did feel like watching someone playing a video game and they were just failing really badly at it. But of course, even the dialogue was also repetitive as well, but given the scenes were repetitive as well, it is understandable why the dialogue was the same. is Exit 8 a movie I would rewatch again? Well, yes, I did enjoy it, but I wouldn't rush to rewatch this again anytime soon. I would still be happy to rewatch it though. And do I recommend watching this? If you enjoy watching foreign language horror movies like Train to Busan or The Ugly Stepsister, then I would recommend checking this one out for sure. But Exit 8 is available to buy and keep on digital platforms right now. Reminders of Him. Next up this week, I've given Reminders of Him a watch, which I gave 2 stars over on Letterboxd. Reminders of Him is another movie that was released during the first half of 2026 in cinemas and theatres, and I didn't catch in cinemas, so I have now taken the time to watch this. So what did I think of Reminders of Him? I mean, I don't think I was really missing much by not seeing this in cinemas, if I'm honest. Yes, the characters are likeable. Micah Monroe is the only person in this film who I do recognise. I spent a lot of time throughout this movie trying to work out the child's name as well. The dialogue wasn't that great though, if I'm honest. Did I get some enjoyment out of this? Well, yes I did. I did think this was somewhat wholesome. Also, there is a scene towards the end of the film where the kid is being pushed on a swing by Micah Monroe's character. I've got to say, that was the weirdest way to push a child on a swing. Yep, never seen a kid being pushed on a swing like that before. Even when I was growing up and being pushed on a swing myself, never seen anyone push me on the swing the same way how the kid in the movie was being pushed on the swing. But this is a film adaptation on one of Colleen Hoover's books, by the way, and of course I haven't read the novel. I do believe that later in the year we are going to get another film adaptation of a Colleen Hoover book, which is called Verity, which I am looking forward to seeing based on the trailer we have already been given for that film. Is Reminders of Him a movie I can see me checking out again in the future? I would say so, yes. But at the same time, I wouldn't be in a rush to rewatch this anytime soon, however. But I do appreciate the film for telling the story that it needed to tell. The film does come with a running time as well, clocking in at 1 hour and 56 minutes. Is Reminders of Him a film I would recommend watching? Well, if you have read the novel by Colleen Hoover and want to check the film adaptation out, then yes, I would recommend watching this. And if you are looking for a new romantic drama movie to watch, then again I would recommend watching this as well. But Reminders of Him is now available to buy and rent on digital platforms. Heal. Next up this week is the movie Heal, which I gave 2 stars over on Letterboxd. The next film I've watched, well, the title for this is so confusing because it appears to have 3 different movie titles. The first title is known as Heal, the second title is Good Boy, and the third and final title that this film is known as is titled The Good Boy. I think it is known as Heal in the US, but here in the UK I think we titled it The Good Boy. But regardless of the film title, this was released earlier this year in cinemas and theatres. Now, I believe for me this film actually had rather limited screenings. And when I say limited, I mean the film was showing late at night, and I was intrigued to give this a watch, particularly as I saw the trailer for this, and it did interest me to watch this. So what did I think of the film? Yes, I will admit this was a decent watch, and it does also star the talented Stephen Graham, who has appeared in a lot of drama movies and drama TV shows lately, and I will say he was great in this film. I did feel as though the acting performances from all the cast involved was rather good actually. The film does also come with a running time clocking in at 1 hour and 50 minutes as well. Now, the film does have some issues or problems that I wish was better executed. There was a character in this film called Rena who, yes, did have a little bit of a plot here, but was the character really necessary to the film? I don't really think so. I will say though, there are some dark, humorous moments throughout the running time of the film, which was good, and there was a couple of twists as well that you can expect to see in this film, which I won't dive into. I do wish, however, that this film was a little shorter than 110 minutes, as I did feel as though some scenes did drag a little bit. Is this a film I would recommend watching? Well, if you have seen projects that Stephen Graham has appeared in before and are intrigued to give this a watch, then I would recommend watching this for sure. Or if you are looking for a drama film with a hint of dark humour in it, then you may enjoy this one as well. Will I rewatch this again? As much as I appreciate watching the film, I will rewatch it again, but I'm not in a rush to see it again anytime soon though. But Heel / The Good Boy is now available to buy and rent on digital platforms. Giant. Next up this week is the movie Giant, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. Pierce Brosnan stars in Giant, which is a British biopic film about a boxer, which was released in the first half of 2026 in cinemas here in the UK, which at the time I wasn't able to watch, but I have now managed to give this a watch. So, what did I think of Giant? Well, if you are into boxing or sports in general, then I am going to say I do recommend watching this because you might get something out of this. I thought the themes that they went for in this story was interesting, and what kept the story going, and speaking of keeping the story going, I thought that the performances in this also is what kept the story going as well, from the cast involved in this movie. The running time for Giant does clock in at 1 hour and 50 minutes, and I will say that as for a biopic film, it feels like a generic biopic, using the same biopic tropes that other biopic films have used in their films before, which does make this rather generic. I will be honest, I have never seen any of the Rocky films or any of the Creed films which are surrounded by the boxing theme, but I did think the boxing scenes we got in this were rather decent to watch. Will I be happy to rewatch the film Giant again while I do appreciate the film and the story it told? But yes, I would be happy to rewatch this again, but I wouldn't be in a rush to rewatch this again anytime soon, however. Giant is available to buy and rent now on digital platforms. Rabbit Trap. And this is the last film that I have watched this week, which is Rabbit Trap, which I've given 2 stars over on Letterboxd. Rabbit Trap is a film that stars Dev Patel as the character of Darcy. So, what did I think of Rabbit Trap? This is a film I have wanted to check out for a while, however though it is a straight to streaming movie. That being said though, did I still enjoy this one? I did. The movie is set in Wales, and I will say that this is one of those movies that I did find creepy, weird, and rather eerie to watch. So much so that I did enjoy watching this film. It does come with a running time that does clock in at 1 hour and 29 minutes, so it is a simple and easy movie to watch. Do I recommend watching Rabbit Trap? I do, yes. If you want something creepy to watch, set in a creepy setting as well. Also, the music scoring in this film was at times creepy and unsettling as well, which made the film more eerie, which I did appreciate. So, as for whether I would rewatch or revisit Rabbit Trap again sometime in the future, yeah, I would say I would be happy to rewatch this one again sometime in the future. But Rabbit Trap is available to buy and rent on digital platforms right now. And that is it for this week's episode of the movie wrap up right here on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. I cannot believe we're 100 episodes in to this movie wrap-up series. Honestly, the last 100 episodes we've reviewed so many films since this whole series had started on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. And if you think that that's it, you know, there's no more episodes of the movie wrap-up coming, you're wrong, because there is many, many more episodes to come in this series, okay? But listen, guys, thank you for watching this episode of the movie wrap-up. Let me know in the comment section down below if there's any of those films that I've reviewed in this episode. Let me know if you've enjoyed any of the films that I've reviewed, if you have watched them for yourself. Also as well, feel free to leave a like if you've enjoyed this video. Leave a comment in the comment section down below and let me know what movies you guys have watched this week, whether it's old, new, in cinemas, streaming, Blu-ray, DVD, even on VHS if you own a VHS player, okay? Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Love to hear your thoughts. And as always, if you are new around here and you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below to become a Steve-O. And don't forget as well to tap the notification bell so that it reminds you, whether you're using your smartphone or your tablet, whenever I do upload a new video to my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. My next video will be out tomorrow, which will be Monday the 29th of June 2026, and that is going to be my next episode of Lens on Life. I hope you guys are enjoying that series so far, and from me for now, it's goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you guys again in my next YouTube video.